Hello or welcome back. My name's Tracy from Tracy's In the Hoop Doll Supplies, and in this video I'm going to show you how to put the faux fur wig on your doll's head. Right, to get started, obviously we need the doll. So you'll have sewn the headpiece up. It doesn't have to be perfect, as you can see. It just needs to be neat enough that it's not going to come apart, because we're covering it, so don't spend too much time trying to perfect it. Now, this is a little 5x7 doll. The last video I did on a 6x10, but unfortunately it didn't work out brilliant, hence wanting to redo it. Now, I'm going to show you how I do this, and hopefully it will give you the confidence to make a doll, or if you have made a doll but weren't happy with the rig result, help you get to a point where you are happy with that. So what we're going to do, we've got pins. I use these to hold the wig down into the head. Now, if you're selling these or giving them to young children, obviously you don't want to be leaving pins accidentally in the hair. So what I do is I have 10 pins on here. So when I finish making these dolls, I have 10 pins back on here. If I don't, then I know the pins, there's a pin somewhere in amongst all that hair. That is quite an important point, so please bear that in mind. I also use something called Fabri-Tac permanent adhesive. The reason I use this over other things is it holds. So you put a bit of glue on and then you hold the wig down only for a few seconds, let go, and it's grabbed that fabric. If you've made a mistake, it's not grabbed so much that you can't take it off. It's not super glue, but it grabs nicely. So then when you come to do the other side, say you did it in 2 pieces, this side will still be stuck down as you do the other one. Now, to ensure that, I would put a pin in the middle of the fringe just to be sure that it's going to sit where I want it, and that way it's not as easy to make a mistake. If you've got a pin in here before you do any gluing and you go around this part and that part, you know it's going to be where you want it on the forehead because you put a pin in place. So that's basically what I use. Obviously here we have a lovely little faux fur wig that I've made and sewn on the embroidery machine. I've tried to make it obvious with the red stitches, as you can see here, and that's cut as well. We want to nice and close to the stitches, but not so close that you're catching the stitches, but we just want to reduce that bulk. And then when we turn it through, there we go, nice back, and here you can see the front because it's got the fringe cut out, so we have a nice little fringe. Unfortunately, this fabric I did have tested, but they no longer sell it and I'm not able to get any more. But I found this piece of faux fur and decided to make it, and it matches this doll's eyes, as you can see. Your eyes don't have to be necessarily blue or black or brown. You can just bring them in using your wig and have something in the dress that is purpley, lilac-y sort of colour. So that is what I will be doing, but initially I'm going to be putting this wig on this doll, and I will show you how to put it on and glue it in place so that it looks lovely. So how do we start? But first off, let's open this glue up. Sometimes the lid gets a bit stuck because of the glues around it, but you just pull it, twist it a bit harder and it will come away. Right, so here we go. So we're wanting to cover this doll's head. It's got a nice rounded head, as you can see. It's got a bit of fluff on there from putting the wig on, just them. But you're going to get that anyway. It's unavoidable, I'm afraid. So what we do, as you saw me do just now, I'm going to do it again, is we put it over the face, and then we've got hold of the bottom of the wig and we pull that down onto the doll. Now what we do is I hold it in place there just whilst I sort this out, because what you'll find is you've got the bits of the wig here. We don't want these in front because that hides the little ears. We want this bit here, which is the sewn bit at the edge. We want that behind the ear. And in doing that, to make that easier, I'll just put a little pin in. All right, well, a big pin in my case, but. And the same here. Let's put it, let's place it, get a pin, put the pin in. Now what that does is it allows us just to focus on the fringe for a minute, because we want to get that right. We don't want it so far down that it's covering the eyes, because that doesn't look very nice. So we bring it back. You can see the nice eyebrows on this doll's head now, and then we can play with it and decide what we like. Where do we want it? Do we want it further up? I prefer it a bit further up than down, but if that's not your preference, it's absolutely fine. It's whatever you want it to be. Now I would sit the doll up. I know you can't see this initially, just because I find it a little bit easier to move the hair and get to where I want it to be, as you can see. Now the other thing, like I said, is I don't want this fringe to move. I don't want to have to go trying to figure out where I had it. So what we do is right at the front, just put a pin in. Now that fringe isn't going anywhere, and neither are the little side bits. So now it's time to glue it in. Right, so we grab the glue, we lift the fringe up a little, and then we're just going to put the tip of the glue inside and underneath the fringe, and we're just going to squeeze enough glue to get it to stick in place. There we go, and we just hold it down. Just hold that down for a minute, just give it a chance to grab. And then we can come over and do the other side. So all we're doing is we're pulling the fabric out slightly, like that. And now we're wanting to go just inside here on the way round. So that's what we'll do. We'll put in enough in there that it will grab and hold on to. If you get this problem where as you lift the glue out, little strands come out, pull the strand off like I just did, and then use your nail to push anything back up into the fringe, and we hold that down. Okay. And now, because we want to finish off doing the fringe, we can take out the pin. Should we just pop it in there, and then remove any fabric that's on the glue, and now you can see the area that hasn't been glued. So we do the same thing, squeeze as much on there as we can, remove anything that's come up, and then use your nail and then we hold it down. Okay, so that will be the fringe. So now we've got our fringe in place, what we need to do now is figure out what we're doing with the back. Now when it comes to the side, obviously I pinned it in place because we didn't want that moving. Let's scoot. I'm trying to, so as you can see, the back of the fabric is going to come quite far down on the neck, which is just what we want, because we want to have this long hair, especially at the back. It looks lovely. And at the same time, we want this to sit behind that ear and down. Now, the easiest way of getting to that point is to bring the head of the doll round, bring that pin out, and then gently fold it up and over like that, and then using the glue, we just want to glue all this area, not on the wig but on the doll. So that's what we do. Bring it all the way over. And done. So now all we have to do is carefully, especially on the edges, bring it down and over. We've got the pin in the fringe, so we can pull that down. So right, now we have the front of the head stuck to the front of the doll. It's now time to do the rest. So exactly the same as before, we just want to cover this area with glue. Don't go too far down. Check where you can go down, so you can either pull it down and mark a little mark with your nail, but you might want to pull it a little bit harder when you're actually sticking it down, so it might go beyond that, but just don't put glue beyond that. So again, just coating the head in glue to ensure that we get a good amount of stick that will prevent it coming off, which we obviously want to avoid. So there we go. Something I did want to mention, sometimes when you stop, you can see that the glue keeps bubbling out. Sorry, try and get it to focus. And that bubble will get bigger and bigger. So you do need to keep an eye on that, and perhaps put wipe it off with a cloth and then put the lid back on when it's like this, which I'm going to do now. I don't want to waste glue. Yeah, there we go, done. Now with this, make sure that the fur is all out of the way. We don't want the fur on this, and all we're doing is rolling it like this down, and we're just pulling it, and we're just flattening that down like that. then we turn the head round. Let's check to make sure that the corner pieces are just behind the ear, which they are. Okay. Sometimes, as you can see here, I've glued it till there, and that's how far we've gone. But I needed to stop because I needed to make sure these pieces were actually sat behind the ear, which at that moment they weren't. Now we know they are, we can again get the glue, and all we're doing is gluing the actual wig fabric on both sides like this, and just around behind those ears, just to give us, just to make sure it's all stuck nicely. And then we grab what was behind the ears, what's behind the ears, and there we go, like that. This will have glued it down nicely, so all we're doing is making sure it fixes in place with a bit of pressure, and then we can turn her around. Now you can see here that a little bit of fabric got caught, but that's fine, because what we're going to do is we're going to bring it down like that, and then, and the same here, we're going to bring it down like that, and in, and now I'm happy with that. Gently, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue along this bit here just to hold it in place. So you can see it isn't that it's tricky or even difficult, it's just that there's a technique in doing it, and you just work with the doll. For some reason, one wig might go on far easier than the other, and then all you do is, like I'm doing now, find those points that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, pull it down and stick it. It's hard to show exactly what I mean, but you get the idea. You make your adjustments as you go. So then we want to check that the fabric at the bottom is stuck. As you can see, this one just needs a tad more. Just letting the glue drop to the inside the bottle. So what I'm going to do, and I'm doing it now, squeezing hard, and then sticking it down, and then doing the back exactly the same. So it isn't difficult. Fiddly, yes. I hope that you saw most of that. It really is. Sometimes they go on easier, you know. A lot of the time they go on easier. It's just occasionally you'll have a doll and the difference will be obvious compared to other dolls. just got to stick. It's these corner bits. I'm not squeezing the corner bits very well. Once these have taken, then we'll know where we stand when it comes to the doll. What I'm going to do, now that I'm happy that that is in the right place, because before it just wasn't sticking in the right place. Make sure when you do this that you are actually pushing through the fabric and not just the fur. So again, all I'm doing, making sure that everything is stuck in place, and we can leave that to dry for 24 hours. Sorry, I just kicked the camera stand. Right, one thing I do is, because I do put this pin in, I go back and I just check, and you can see it's all stuck, but a tad on there won't hurt. And there we go. And just make sure that area isn't an area that's potentially going to get caught. Right, and now what I would do is, once this is all stuck down in place, I will get a needle and thread, and I will just stitch, not all the way around the head, but certain points, like here, behind the ears, a couple at the back. They're just giving you an extra level of security when it comes to keeping the doll's wig on the doll. You may not feel that's necessary, but when it comes to the testing for the to make sure in the UK that the dolls are safe for children to play with, it's an important element of that is ensuring that this wig can't come off. So using those two forms means the wig doesn't come off. And that's it really. So as you can see, all I've got to do now is give this doll wig a chance to dry, because its purchase or its tackiness is quick, but it takes, to be fully dry, it takes a while, a good 24 hours. So what I would do is, I'm just going to leave that now. I'm going to let it do its thing, going to let it trying to show you how. So I'm going to let it do its thing. It's all on there now, as you can see. All I've got to do is finish styling the doll's hair when all this is stuck down. So I hope that helps. If, like I say, one of the things, it's not the most important, but when it comes to making dolls for children, one of the important bits is the pins. So I'm going to put this to one side, but again, I know that there should be 10 pins on this magnet holder. So if I pull pins out and there's only 9, well, I know there's another one in there somewhere. And you get that out before you do anything else, is my advice on that. Leave it to dry and then pull those pins and make sure you've got however many, 5, 10, however. And then like I say, for me personally, I found this to be brilliant. I'm sure there's others, but this for me is exactly how I like it. It's got good tack, it holds the fabric quickly, but it allows you still to adjust. And then when it's fully cured, that you aren't getting that wig off. But like I say, just as a backup and just as a security, whether you're in the UK or not, a few stitches going around the head in little, almost like little knots, just gives you that extra layer of protection. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and tell me in the comments if you did or not, and like my video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.